Hey, comrades. Hope everyone's doing well. Moving on to number, I think, 13, the Shining games that I have played thus far. This one is Shining Soul number 2. It's a direct continuation of the previous game, literally, and as a game itself, and the story. So, this one plays exactly like the previous Shining Soul. It's a little more refined. It's still a Game Boy Advance game. We have more choices this time for characters. So instead, before we just had the warrior, the dragon, the archer, or the dragonite, and the wizard and the archer. This time we got all of those. Plus we got dark wizard. Plus brawler. Brawler is it's like the werewolf punching guy from the first game. We got ninja. We got priest. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then there's you can get a yogurt suit and play as yogurt. And then once you beat the game, you get to play as the final boss, essentially, if you want to go back and play it again. And again, this game is made like a Diablo-style action role-playing game adventure where you just run around, kill monsters, get random loot, got identify loot, equip new loot, continue forever. You can play up to 4 players co-op, depending on if you have all the right accoutrement or if you got your emulator set up correctly and all that good jazz. I chose the brawler this time because I was going to choose the ninja, but then I was reading up on it and I found out it looked like the brawler was slightly better, and that the knife is the best weapon in the game. It's got a very short range, but its charge attack is like the spinning move that does progressively more damage, and it you can move while you're using it, and it just from experience in this game, I would say wow, yeah, I could see why this is so good, because it literally there'll be a crew of dudes and I'll just use it, run into them, run away. And same thing with bosses, you'll hit them a whole bunch of times and it does so much more damage than a regular attack, exponentially more. So I'm hitting dudes for 30 damage, for example, and then I'll do the spin attack charge and it hits them for 150 multiple times. So it's pretty baller, not gonna lie. So like most Shining games, it starts off, we're looking at a book, it's called Shining Soul 2, then a hand reaches out and grabs it, so we're in a library, and there's the pink-haired elf friend. She recaps the story from the first game, the Dark Dragon got defeated, it's been a minute, some time has passed, and people are starting to take the light for granted. So sometime later, a preacher shows up, talks about a crystal, how the light will grow out of control without the darkness, and that it needs to be balanced, but everyone just ignores them. Eventually, light becomes so strong that the darkness kind of forces its way out. An alchemist who is starved of darkness, his name is Gil Sepier, lures this prophet away and kills him, and that shatters the crystal that the preacher was using to predict the coming dark age and stuff. And then there's a dark knight, a knight that was tempted by an apple from Gil Sepier, and his name's the fuck is his name? I wrote it down here. It's Death Rate. Yeah, right. Or Death Route or something. And he's the head knight of the kingdom of Kalant, and he was corrupted. And this is the kingdom we base all of our actions out of. And after he tasted the forbidden fruit and stuff. So later on, because the darkness started to rise and they needed a hero, the king of Galant set up a tournament, and so heroes from all over the world came by, including Zakkus, and so we play Zakkus. Each of the characters that you choose from has a different name, so Zakkus is not the default name, it's the default name for the werewolf homie brawler guy. So game starts, Zakkus runs up, there's a traveler there. They talk a little bit about the tournament, about what's going on, about how we came for this and that, and then a slime pops up so that we can have a little tutorial, a real quick tutorial, just hey, this is what you do, this is how you beat it. So we beat the shit out of the slime, we gain a level, we get a little bit of info about how that whole thing works, and then we head to Clantal. Once we're in Clantal, we enter the tournament, we face Deathrat, who's the knight who ate the apple, and then during the fight, it's announced that Camille, the princess, has gone missing. So the king stops the whole tournament, and the king sends Deathrat out to find the princess. After everyone leaves, the king's hey, you did a pretty good job there. That was my number 1 knight, and you were holding your own. He probably would have still beat you, but it's pretty impressive that you were able to do that and all that jazz. So I want you to come to the castle. So we head to the castle, and he has a request for us. The king mentions that things have really started to change around here, that the crystal of light that sits in his throne room with him is cloudy, and that there's lots of rumors of goblin activity, and that the goblins have in fact erected a fort just outside the castle, and that obviously the princess is missing. We talked about that before. And then the Queen Yvonne, tells him to relax, And then, he's getting all hyped up and his heart medication and whatnot. Anyway, he's like, could you please go check out the Goblin Fortress? So we explore around. There's you can collect monster cards. I don't think that does anything. They have the normal. There's the Identify Witch Lady, Item Shop, Bank, Weaponsmith, Armorsmith, where there's no reason to ever buy that shit, just like in Diablo, because it's always worse than the stuff you just randomly find. And then there's the Smithy. And the Smithy is where you can combine items. In this game, so in the previous game, there was Dark Matter, Mithril, and Oreclum. Now there's those things, plus Bone, plus Dragon Scale. I think that's it. I think it's just those two are added to it. At least that's all I found. And then, yeah. Okay. So after that, we head over to the Goblin Fortress. And as we enter, so whenever you enter a new level, you get a little story bit. Then there's a midpoint story bit with sometimes a mini boss. And then there's the final story bit with the final boss. And then that's it. And then you go back to Clantel for some return and report business with the king and the queen and sometimes Camille after she gets rescued, and then you kind of go back out on your journey. Outside of that, like I said, it's you go through these levels. These levels are much more interesting than in Shining Soul 1. Shining Soul 1 was almost these same kind of procedurally generated, as in they were just boxes, and sometimes they were a little unique, but generally it was just here's a room, here's pretty much the same room, here's another exact same room. This one, it seems much more designed and planned, and there's treasure chests in a lot of these levels. Sometimes they're in little secret passageways, and then it seems the monsters are more planned out. There's less monsters, and they give more experience points. The thing in Shining Soul is the stronger you got, the less experience the monsters gave. Here it seems they just give a flat amount. So I find myself leveling up more. And then when you raise your stats, or not your stat, you raise your stats, obviously. This time we're just ignoring intelligence, putting a lot in strength because we're a brawler. And then some in dex just for evade and critical strike. And then some in vitality for hit points. And then our abilities, we're going to just shove everything in the knife, and then critical strike, and then healing, and whatever else I decide at that point. But it goes up higher. Before it went up to level 5, now it goes up to level 7 with our capabilities, our abilities. And then again, it's you have to have the correct stats to equip weapons, and you have to have so many points in the thing. And the more points you have in your skill, the more you can charge. This time with charge, though, it costs SP, which we're not putting any points into intelligence. That's going to affect that in a negative light. Fortunately, though, there's a lot more items here that give stat boosts. So pretty quick, I'm just going to concentrate on finding items that give me more intelligence, just so I can have that as a thing. But even if not, the regular attack is okay. It's short range, but we do all right. And the monsters usually don't. A couple times they ambush you, though, but a lot of the times they'll just come at you as 2 or 3s, and so you can still kind of stun lock them with your repeated attack button, which is the Y button here. Okay. So continuing with the story. Oh yeah, so the goblins are just hanging out in the front. They're talking about how they're getting ready to raid on the castle, and that the princess got captured by them, and that they're really hungry for human flesh. They just can't wait. So then we kill our way through the fortress until we reach the goblin captain, and we find out that they moved the princess to another place and moved him to Witchy, which is the witch nearby. But they have the key to unlock the prison here, and it's just hanging on the wall. So we got to remember to pick that up. And then they talk about how there must be a traitor because we're here and someone must have told us that we're here. So we kill all these guys, and then we grab the prison key. And as the goblin captain is dying, he apologizes to Colonel Goblin Sloppin something. And then we go pick up the prison key, which we don't use for quite a while, as I said before. Eventually, we kill our way all the way through the level, get to this big gobby guy who must be the colonel. He's super mad that we're here. And yep, the princess is over at Wizardry's place. If you forgot from 5 seconds ago when we were fighting that other thing. And that Wizardry is very concerned about the balance of light and dark. So we kill his ass and then head back to the castle. And some of the best, funniest parts of the game are really just every time you return a report, you talk to the king and the queen, and they just have odd comments to make, and the queen's completely schizophrenic. At times it seems like she's hitting on you, and then other times she's treating you like a son that she never had, and other times she's hinting at having affairs with other men, and then other times she's talking about how she's completely loyal to her husband, and the king the whole time is just kind of flabbergasted by everything that's going on around him. And then Camille's always got other shit she's doing after you rescue her. She's always got plans upon plans upon plans, like fucking Paul Atreides from Dune. Anyway, so we reveal that Camille's not there, that she's with Wizzery, that evil witch, and to get to her like area, we need to get through the Giant's graveyard. So off we go. So in the graveyard, we learn about. So there's this whole conversation, and then we have this bar at the top, right? So we have SP, HP, and then we have this bar that says Soul. And I don't know, and this game's called Shining Souls, right? So I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do with that, to be completely honest, because I'm just like, okay. So we get to this part, and then we see these mummies, and they're just like, oh, there's a soul, a human soul over here, but only we can move this gravestone, something, and they talk about it for a while, and like, well, let's mark the grave, and there's like a whole story about it, and I roll up and just kill the two of them. I can't do anything about the grave, and I'm like, okay, so then I like reload save state, and then I try to have them like punch the gravestone or whatever, and nothing happens. I'm like, fuck it, whatever. So I just kill them, and that is the last I hear about souls like ever again in this game. So I don't know if I was supposed to pick something up or learn something, but there's just like this soul bar up there, and it's like, I don't know, eventually maybe it'll do something. Oh goodness! Later on, we run into the traveling companion that we had. It's like, oh hey, he's a ghost now because there's his dead body. Wah wah wah! And I'm like, is this the soul I'm supposed to gather? So I mess around with that a little bit. Nothing happens. He doesn't talk to me. I don't learn anything, and I'm just like, okie dokie. So then we continue on. Finally, we start killing giants. And then we get to like the head giant, and he's super mad that we woke him up, and then we kill his ass and go back to the castle. I don't know why we're just continuing to Wizzery, but there you go. So then the king talks more mad shit about Wizzery, and the queen, this is when the queen starts really like flirting with me. She's like, oh big boy, you want to come see me later when my husband's not around? We can make some cookies, wink wink. And it's like, nice. So we head back. So then once we finish with that, we head over to Wizzery's place. Halfway through, we find the princess. She's just hanging out in a cage, and she's like, what's up, homie? Or like, what's up, girl? And she's like, I need the prison key. Too bad it's in the Goblin Fortress, in case you didn't realize from that literal fucking story, where it's like, the Goblin key is here, everybody. And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot to pick it up after I killed those goblins. I guess go back and look it up. And you can go back to previous levels as many times as you want, or as how much, and research, or find secret items, or do whatever you want. Grind out for gear, or whatever. But we got the prison key, so don't worry about it. We open it up. She's super grateful. Camille is a total babe. She's definitely like waifu number one. Like the queen's like 30 as shit, but her like little portrait in like this Game Boy Advance game is like, it's aight. But Camille is like this like sultry look with like winking. Total babe. And she's got like a nice disposition, a nice sultry disposition. So she's about to be like, hey, I have a question for you. And we're like, yeah. She's like, never mind. I'm just going back to the castle. And you're like, okie dokie. So we finally hit that witch. And she's like, I sensed you here. And she's pretty haughty and stuff. And then she just kind of floats around, and we can't attack her. And she's got some minions in there. But there's a painting in the back of the room that we can destroy, which is pretty obvious. That's what we're supposed to do. At that point, she changes into like this hideous like giant beast of a witch. And she's super sad. And then we kick her ass, and then she's like, oh, I wish I just sacrificed Camille and never let her get away or put her in prison. I wish I did it when I had the chance. So we head back to the castle. We reveal that Wizzery is trying to unleash the power the power of darkness. And they're like, yeah, hooray, let us throw a banquet to celebrate you. And the princess is like, I am ready to go on my next adventure. And then and King's like, what? And she's like, nothing. I celebrate banquet, yay. And then it's like, all right, go get ready to go. Hey, Zacchus, you go ahead and go rest up, and then we'll come get you when it's time to party. And then all of a sudden the head chef of the castle like rolls up, and he's like, hobbits are stealing from the castle. They took all our food and treasure. And then the orb, which has been like cloudy this whole time, the orb of light, it lights up. And the queen and king are like, oh, what's going on here? The hobbits live by the fairies, and there's like the fairy forest, and the fairy princess is a creature of light. And so maybe that's something to do with this. So we need to now go to the fairy spring and find out. I don't know. We just need to go because plot. We talked to Camille a little bit. She brings up like asking us something again, but right before she asks us something, the father stops her and it's like, yeah, he doesn't have time for that all bullshit. He needs to go to the fairy spring. And we're like, okie dokie. So we run over there. The hobbits are there, and they talk about like reporting to Bobbin, or the Bobbin report, and how they went to the castle to steal a bunch of shit, and now they're all like, ooh, look at all this cool stuff we got. We got great beer. And then it's like, well, Bobbin, what'd you get over there? And he's like, oh, I got this treasure. Everyone's like, oh, that treasure's awesome. This is so exciting. And it's like, cool story, guys. And then we go and kill them all, and there's nothing. And I'm like, is there like a secret around here? Like, I'm not using a guide because the game I just rolled through the first game, and this game I'm also just rolling through. So I'm kind of like, I don't really care. Like, if it's not gonna make the game easier, I just don't see the point necessarily. Like, there's not like multiple endings as far as I'm tracking. I glanced through like the RPG shrine and didn't see anything about that. So it's just like, oh, okay, that's cool, whatever. Let's see. And then at the very end, we meet the fairy princess. And we're like, oh, hey, fairy princess. And she's like, the power of darkness is intensifying. Why did you bring the darkness here? And then we're about to be like, nah, we didn't, bitch. And then she's like, fight this. And so she summons a water spirit. And so we kicked the shit out of that. And it was pretty tough because I didn't bring any healing items, but I was able to power through. After we defeat her spirit, the fairy princess mentions that we need to head over to the seas because pirates and shit. And we're like, cool, cool, cool. That takes us back to the castle. The king is ready to party again, but ruh-roh, this time a sailor runs in. Hey, there's problems. There's like a sea monster and stuff. And then what about old Captain Robert? Why isn't he taking care of the sea monster? Oh, he's acting real strange. Oh, and then someone's like, oh yeah, he's a real joker. And it's like, well, yeah, but he's not joking now. Now he's kind of being an asshole. It's like he's taking these jokes way too far, and he looks super creepy, and he's super big, right? So he's clearly the boss. And then the king's like, hey, can you go check that out? And then the sailor is like, oh, by the way, can we also have a chart? And the king's like, yeah, I'll go get the chart. And he's like, hey, I can't find it. And the princess is like, oh, I have it. Here you go. And they're great. Now we can sail across the sea once the whole Captain Robert and sea monster thing is taken care of. And the question is like, why? In fact, the king's like, why did you have that sea chart? And then the princess is like, silly daddy, I asked for it earlier. And everyone laughs. And I'm like, that's sus as shit, man. And then we talk to the king and queen, and they show us seashells that Robert gave them, Captain Roberts, because he's got such a kind heart. And then they beg us to help him. And then the queen flirts with us a little more, and then she talks about when she was younger, how that she revealed this amazing story where Roberts essentially tried to steal the queen away because he's like, hey, would you like to go on like a journey with me throughout the 7 seas or something? And she's like, yeah, that sounds like a fun thing to do. And then she got on the ship, and then it was like too late. She realized that she'd like accept a marriage proposal. And she's like, oh, I'm super embarrassed about it. I was like, no, I can't marry you. I'm the queen of the country. I gotta go. So then she noped out of that. And then we go talk to the princess, and she's like, please take me with you. I want to go. And then her dad is like, absolutely fucking not, absolutely no. And then Camille says that her mom was able to go to sea with a man. Why can't I go with it? And the king's like, the fuck happened? And the queen's like, don't worry about it. That's a lie. It's not. As we already know, because she told us a crazy story. And Camille's like, you better get out of here. So then we head over to the ship, hop on there. We hear somebody calling for help. We rescue them. They open up the ship, and then the whole level's just like in the ship, and this is a fucking huge ship. The crew member that we rescue, he also talks about how Roberts has been acting weird. So we kill our way through the whole ship. Eventually we get to Captain Roberts. He's definitely a big boy. And he says, he was born on the beach, and then now he's insane. And then he rants about the ocean, about Squid Ink, about darkness. And it's like, yeah, bro, you're definitely insane. That's true. So time to fight. We beat the shit out of him. We literally knocked some sense into him. And he's like, oh man, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. There was a sea monster. I went to fight it, and then it shot me with its like dark ink, and then I felt like I was going crazy. So maybe you should go take care of that. Because it's affecting the whole ocean. And so we're like, cool, sounds good. So then immediately after that, we fight the giant squid, and this thing sucked ass because it shoots this like poison cloud that follows us around, and then it smacks the ship like Leviathan from Final Fantasy XIV, and like tips the whole thing back and forth. And so we got to like run back and forth, and it was like real hard to use my charge attack. This is like the one time in this whole game thus far that like having a knife was like not advantageous because it was like such short range, and I had to like real close to the side of the ship to like hit this guy while I was avoiding like the poison cloud that was following me around, and the thing was smacking me. So I had to buy like a whole bunch of healing items just to, like power through it. Yep, save state for the win, definitely. So then we kill that thing and head back to the king. We inform him about the spreading darkness over the thing, and then the crystal is all cloudy again and shit. And then the queen gets like real worried about us, and she's like, oh, come here, my sweet boy, let me rub your head and make sure that you're doing okay. And then the king's like, you're acting like mother and son. And she's like, well, maybe I am. I'm gonna go tell you some bedtime stories. Everything's gonna be okay. Then she mentions that we're exactly like the hero of legend from Shining Soul 1. And that she feels bad for us because we're just a child. We are but a child. I'm like, what? And this starts coming up like right here out of nowhere, like a lot. Like, oh, we were but a child. We were like a young boy. I don't know. We're like 14, 16. I mean, it's JRPG, so we're probably like 16. Right? I guess we're just like a typical teenage superhero in these anime slash JRPGs. And that she feels so bad for us because we faced so much adversity in our short life and something. And so, all right, cool, time to hit the mainland up. So the king asks us to be safe, and then we need to find Death Route and to tell him to return at once. He's been gone doing a lot of bullshit, and no one knows where the fuck he's at. Obviously, he was corrupted, as we learned about in the opening cinematic. So the king and queen talk about their honeymoon in the desert, because that's the next level, obviously, and they get super quiet about when they're reminiscing because, you know, they were young and they were probably having sex. So they don't want to like embarrass themselves in front of this young child that I am. But then they both wish us that we can have a great time and enjoy our time in the desert, and that we can do all the things that kids enjoy doing, like fucking the princess, which we haven't done yet. And the princess, we talked to her and she's like, friend zone. Wah, wah, wah. And then she like whispers to us, and literally she's like, we're friends, right? Let me tell you something. And it's like whisper, whisper, whisper. And then I don't want to whisper, whisper, and then go alone. And the king's like, what the fuck are you two talking about? Are you going to run away again? And she's like, oh my goodness, no. So over in the mainland, this Temple of Light, and there's a priest there. And if we sacrifice like 4 items and pray, we get new items. We can get like other items, I guess. And there's a whole chart you can find in like RPG shrines that explains this to you, along with the fusion, or like the crafting system with the items that I mentioned before. But the blacksmith is just hanging out in town. Anyway, so to the desert. In the desert, we fight Worm Boss. Hooray, Worm Boss. This one's super annoying because we have to like kill it from, it's like a centipede almost, or like a centipede boss, or like millipede boss, where it's like it has like 4 parts, and we have to kill like the back part, then the next part, and the next part, and it like runs around the room, and then it separates the parts, and then you have to, but you can only hit like the one part at a time. So it just took a while to destroy it. It really wasn't hard. It was easy to like move around. And then the desert turns into like a pyramid level, which is cool because we get a lot of mummies and undead things and whatever. And then at the end we find Oswald, and he's like a Rakshasa, it's like a tiger man from like Indian mythology, and he calls himself the general of the Chaos Knights, and he's going to stop us from getting a weapon. They're here to get a weapon, and they're going to stop us from getting it. And I'm like, okay. And he says he's here under the orders of the king, and I'm like, what king? So then we fight, and then we beat him, and he's shocked that we were beat by somebody so young. So once again, like this whole area is like, this whole part of the game's like, you are so young, I don't understand. And he swears that soon the world will be ruled by darkness. So we head back to the castle. We talk about the weapon buried in the desert, and then Camille, who's gone, where did she go? Not to the desert, because we were in the desert. Oh, and we would have seen her, right? So she must be in like Kuldazak Cave, and it's this like ice cave full of yetis and shit. And so everyone's like, make sure you bring fire stuff. And we're like, okay. And then the queen shows extra concern for us again, and the king again calls her out for babying us or treating us like a son she never had, and that it's like the king is definitely, his attitude is definitely like a jealous of all the attention she's giving it to us. So we head back to the mainland, and then we head inside the cave. Inside, we find the princess frozen, and there's some yetis, including a yummy yeti boss, standing around her, mocking her and stuff. And they're like, hey, there's another guy. Let's go kill him. So they come over, we beat the shit out of them, and then we pummel the ice until it breaks. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. It might not be worth chasing. And then she goes, ... I'll talk to you later. And then she heads out. Oh no, before she heads out, she's like, oh, hey, I found a tower over here, and I was trying to explore it, but I couldn't figure out how to get in. But then I found like a guard who was like asleep, and he was in his like sleep. He was talking about the password to the tower. It was patience. And essentially, you just have to stand, and then all you have to do is stand in front of the tower and say patience, and you'll get inside the tower. And we're like, cool, sounds good. And she's like, all right, I'm going to head home. See ya. And we're like, all right, bye. At the end, we find Valtali. It's like a dragon man sage, and he talks about how the light and darkness have become intertwined, which means they're in chaos, and that the balance has been disturbed. At that point, he turns into like a big dragon turtle thing, like from Dungeons & Dragons. And this is another boss. We have to like attack his parts first. We have to destroy all 4 of his legs. He's got a tail and a head, and that's annoying because not the head always pops out, but then the tail will pop out sometimes, and only 3 legs will come out. So if you get to a point where you've destroyed the first 3 legs, sometimes you just get the tail, and you just gotta wait. And this thing doesn't shoot anything at you. It'll just stand there doing nothing, and then it will like spin very slowly around the room. So it's honestly probably the easiest boss fight in the game. It just kind of like drags on a little bit because, yeah. There's just nothing to do. It's like just wait for it to like pop its leg out and then run over and blast it. We defeat him, and then he compliments us. He says we did a good job, and that he used to be like a powerful swordsman as well as a sage, but that he no longer has control over the light, and he wishes us success in our battles ahead, and then dies. So back to Clantal. The king and the princess thank us. Camille is finally able to meet up with Gillespie, the evil dark alchemist guy from the very beginning who corrupted Death Rote. So maybe he's going to corrupt the princess later on. That's the guy she's been chasing this whole time that she kept like wanting to ask about and stuff. And the queen is like, "Oh yes, you are of that age." Wink, wink. And that's the reason why she kept running off to like track down this guy and find out what's going on with him and whatnot. And then she's like, "Oh, he's just hanging out in town." And it's like, cool. He is not hanging out in town as far as we can tell. Unless there's a town we're not allowed to go to. And the queen points out that the crystal has continued to become more cloudy. And then the king starts talking about a balance between light and darkness and how the crystal shows this balance and that the darkness has been growing and that it's been growing very fast. It's increased rapidly. And then the king's like, "All right, Kay, I need you to go to this tower that's over on the mainland so we can stop the army of darkness." And the king and queen both encourage us to be safe. And the queen goes on this whole rant about having hope. And the king's like, "Oh, that hope is some old bullshit." And the queen's like, "No, you need hope. Without hope, you can't do anything. And hope will guide you through the darkness and help you overcome whatever." And then she gets all like Benny Gesserit with us about like having hope and how fear is the mind killer and fear is the little the little doubt that corrupts the soul and all this stuff. It's not exactly, but I was like, huh. Someone's clearly been somewhat influenced by something. And then we talk to Camille, and she gets like very philosophical about the darkness. She's like, "What is the darkness? Is it really that bad?" And then Gillespie, he's like full of darkness, or he's a dark alchemist, and he doesn't seem that bad of a guy. And do we really need to defeat the darkness? Should we? She then gives us something she found in a cave, which is this like summoning item, and I don't know, maybe this is the soul thing. Let's see. Okay, so then we thank her for that, and then we prep up and we head back to the mainland, head over to the tower. And as soon as we enter the demon's tower, we see this like beautiful winged angel lady float down, and she's talking to Kobodi, who's like the kobold guard, and he's like, "Hey, there's a problem." And she's like, "What's the problem?" He's like, "I revealed the password while sleeping." Again, like what? Who'd you do it to the first time? And she's like, "Well, as long as no one heard." And he's like, "Well, somebody heard. I think it was this lady. There was like a lady, but I didn't see who she was. Obviously, it was Camille." And this whole scene is like pretty silly. They like go back and forth. It's like a comedy sketch almost. They're like going back and forth, like, "You did what? How did the what?" And then blah 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 blah. But it's pretty good. It's not in a bad way. Like I was like laughing while I was reading it, like while playing the game. Anyway, so then he gets ordered. He's like, "Hey, go get some of your fucking dudes and go find this lady that heard the password and kill her." And he's like, "That's gonna be really hard because I don't know who it is." I barely saw her. I think she had blonde hair. And the dark angel lady's like, "Just go fucking do it. I didn't ask, don't question me." And then he complains some more, and then he's about to leave, and he sees us, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And so they both start chatting with us and talking down to us, and then Kobodi's like, "I'll take care of this, my dark angel queen. Don't you worry." And that the lady like takes off, and so we go up and we kick his ass because he's just like a regular bad guy. He's not even a boss. And then we walk up to like the gate, and we're like, "Patience!" And it's like time to go. So moving on in. So we continue fighting our way up the tower, and about halfway up, we run into the Dark Angel again. And this time she summons Zack's clone. I think it's just Zack. Zack's clone to fight us, and then she takes off. So we beat ourselves off. Get it? No, it's an interesting fight. We're in an enclosed space, and so it's more a matter of just kind of running around to charge up and then doing like a circle charge attack, because if we charge directly in, so when we're performing our super powerful kind of overpowered charge attack where we spin around and just do like 10 times more damage than we actually should and like hit 100% of the time and whatnot, if a monster attacks, it interrupts the attack. And so some monsters are better at doing that than not, which is why it's important to invest in the stun skill as well, so that when you're hitting things, it becomes a lot harder for them to kind of shake it off. Anyway, so we kill them, We kill ourselves, the clone of ourselves, who attacks with like shitty claws and doesn't do any charge attacks, so sucks to be him. So we continue to fight and kill our way up to the top. At that point, there's the angel lady with her scythe, and she's super mad. She's like, "How did you get here?" "Oh well, I'm gonna kill you anyway. So let me tell you a secret. This thing that we're on, it floats and it takes you to like the volcano of something, which is like how the Chaos Knights get from here to there and then to the Castle of Chaos. So I'm gonna take you there because I'm for sure gonna kill. I'm for sure he's gonna kill you in this thing. And so by the time we get over there, you'll be dead, so it won't matter." And so then we start this fight, and this fight is another one of these kind of like annoying fights. So she stands there, and you have like, this is the time to attack, but if you take too long, she'll grab you, and then she like flies around the back of the map, and she does continuous damage, which is like most likely going to kill you before she flies back. So you got to like hit her quick and fast, and then run away, and then she flies, and then she comes back the second time, and she comes flying across the screen and hits with like a bunch of like scythes and stuff. And if for me with Zax, if I didn't do like a charge attack to her that she interrupted after like the first strike, it would hit me like with everything. But if I did that, it only hit me like once, so that was fine. And then she swings back around, and then she just sits her ass there, and then it's time to get like another super attack in, and then repeat. And then she has one other attack where she kind of like comes from the top, and then she shoots feathers around. This was pretty easy to dodge, I felt like, because you just gotta like hang out right in the middle and then move slightly, and then you're gonna miss most of the feathers, and then she like repeats the pattern. But that's all she did. So after a few rounds of that, she goes down. Let's see. She curses us and tells us that she cannot let Giuseppe or Gil Seppi, he's, you know, she can't let us get to him, but it's too late. She's dead and whatnot. So, okay, so then we head back to the castle. The king and queen are grateful that we're okay. The crystal is all cleared up with the death of the angel lady, but then it just turns back to dark again. We tell the king about the volcano, about the Chaos Knights. He comes very scared of like the Chaos Knights when we bring that up. He talks about like a dark alliance, and then he's like, "Oh, I have the vapors. I need to rest." And then he tells us that we must face the core of darkness, and he's acting kind of sus, but I think it's just kind of like interesting translation or localization or anything, because nothing really comes of it. But he does say he needs to rest. Then Camille starts feeling like super bad. She's like, "Oh, my adventuring has caused problems for my father. But you know what? You've been a good friend this whole time, Zach. Friend zone. You've been a good example. I want to be more like you and be obedient and help my father out and not be running around doing adventures all the time." So, all right, time to hit the volcano. We get in there, not much happens at the beginning. Then halfway up, we run into a man. I think this is Gil Seppi. And he asks, "Why are we here?" And then it's a princess return. And we're like, yep. He says he knows everything about us and that he will be our opponent. And we beat his ass. He is so bad. He just kind of walks very slowly around, and we just hit him with a couple of like charged attacks, and he's done. And then he was like, "Oh, death rate, was right about us. I'm going to fight you some more later. Tee-hee-hee." So then he teleports out of there. And then as we continue to fight onward, he's back. And this time he like shoots a little bit of an attack at us, but it's still not that much harder than it was before. And he also demands that we leave, so we beat his ass again. And he's like, "Oh, I'm very excited. I've never had such a wily opponent or something. And like, next time we fight, I will challenge you to a duel." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, do you not understand what language, like the English language? We literally just fought 2 duels already. Like, the fuck are you talking about?" Anyway, he clearly has no idea what he's talking about. So he teleports away again, and then we kill our way all the way to the heart of the volcano, or the edge of the volcano, or the end of the volcano, and there's a giant fire golem, and we have awoken him, and now we must die to his flames. And so we use save state for the win. So pretty much he has 2 attacks. He walks slowly towards us, so you have like, there's like a time limit, because eventually he's going to push you into like the fire, and that'll kill you. But he walks slowly, and he'll shoot fire at like, essentially there's like top position, bottom position, and the map is angled kind of funny, so you can like, you gotta like see where the flames come in and move to the top or the bottom to avoid that. And then right after he does that, he does like a knee attack that if it hits you, it sends you like all the way to the back, and it does a ton of damage. And that it can, like, at this point in the game with my level as playing as the brawler, it kills me. So I save state a little bit to kind of like get the pattern, because I don't want to keep like wandering back over here. Not that it's super big deal with the bosses, because the bosses tend to, you don't lose anything when you die. It's like normally if you die, you lose like a piece of armor, and then you lose some gold, I think. I don't think you lose any experience. But I don't let myself die. I save state, I'm not going to lie. So if I get to like in a precarious situation, except against bosses, I'll let myself die and go back a couple times. With this guy, I was like, no, I'm going to figure this out. So eventually, when you get the pattern of like dodge, wait for a moment, it's like Elden Ring, right? Like if you dodge and then go in for the attack immediately, then like his delayed attack will like hit you. So you got to like pause for a moment, let the attack finish, and then you can go up and like beat the shit out of him. And he took a hit a lot of life, so I think he took 3 full charges to like take down. But again, it wasn't once you got the pattern. It's like a fucking Elden Ring boss or Soulsborne boss. Once I got the pattern of fighting him, he was the most like strategy based, and the most where you really gotta stick to the pattern. And like once you get like the dance of combat going, he went down pretty quick. He then mentions that Light is being swollen by the Castle of Chaos, and that's like our final destination. So we get back to the castle, the king is recovered, the queen's happy, and they look at each other with like these sultry "I want to fuck you" eyes, and Camille's like, "Oh, gross, you guys stop." Then she mentions, then we give her a report. And at this and while we're trying to give her a report about the volcano and get Giuseppe and everything, the crystal goes completely black. And it's like, oh no! And then the queen says, oh goodness, when the light becomes too strong, the darkness shall prevail. I know this because I researched it in books. It's like, what? Okay, whatever. And then the king tells us not to tell anyone about what's going on here. And then we get lots of encouraging words from everybody. We go talk to the princess. And she tells us that if we get hurt, she'll never forgive us because we're like best friends and everything. And super cute. And the king and queen tell us that we always have a place in their home, and they consider us like family, and they're going to throw a huge party. And then again, when we talk to Camille, she mentions that she has a really bad feeling about the Castle of Chaos and what's going to happen there, which is like some dark foreshadowing for sure. And she really doesn't want us to go, but she knows she's being selfish, and she trusts that like every other time when we leave that we will return to her. So before I head into the Castle of Chaos, I was trying to figure out what the fucking souls thing does. So I got this thing as like press Pessany or whatever, and then I ran the arena and I got Raijin level 3, and I was like, all right, I gotta figure out how this fucking works. So then I was in the RPG forum, and I figured, oh, okay, you press select, because I had the thing equipped and I had my soul power at max, and I was hitting every button except select, because I keep forgetting to select the button. So when you do that, it's like a super powerful summon, and the summons, there's like, I think they have a list on the RPG shrine site, and I think there was like 10 of them or something. So I've gotten 2, but you hit select, then it does the summon, whatever. And while I was there, I like took a gander at the walkthrough, because I remember when I was like reading about this game somewhere, someone was like, oh yeah, you can just power through this game, but you're gonna miss all like the side stories. And I'm like, I have not done like a single side quest as far as I'm tracking. And so I went back and kind of glanced through the walkthrough that's on there, and the walkthrough is really just like maps, and then like it gives you a couple hints in certain levels of how to like access extra treasure. And I was like, oh, okay, there's like secret levels. And I was like, you know what? I got some time. Let's run through these secret levels. So I did. So here we go. So there is a woman in the castle that if you talk to her, where am I? Oh, yeah. If you talk to her, she complains about monsters coming out of the well of her house. And then after you talk, so pretty much you got to go to town, you got to find somebody, talk to them. And if you've gotten past like a certain level, a regular level, then when you head outside, there'll be like a new level open. So then it's like, okay, cool, it's her house, so we got to go down to her well and kill some monsters. And these levels, I've missed them the whole game. So like, for example, this level you can unlock right after the Goblin Fortress. So at this juncture, I just roll in there, everything dies in one hit, and I get like 10 experience per guy. So it's like, it's almost not worth it. I'm just playing through it for like, to experience, see if there's anything interesting or cute about it. One of the levels is nice. It's actually like you rescue this grandpa guy after you do like another side quest. So it's a lot more involved than like a lot of the other stuff in this game. And when you rescue this guy, at least the guide, the RPG Shrine guide, is like, oh yeah, that guy is going to show up at the end of the game because you saved him. And I was like, is there anybody else like that? So I looked around some more, and I found that spirit, like Boken, who I ran into at the very beginning of the game, and then I found his ghost in the graveyard. Apparently those mummies, they're not hiding like a soul, like you can summon a soul, but they're hiding like his actual soul. So then you got to go back over there and like wait for them to move the crypt, and then you can kill them and then get like some sort of item, and then you use that item on Boken's ghost, and then it puts the ghost back, it like resurrects him so that he can you can what am I trying to say? Oh, and then he'll show up at the ending as well. It'll like slightly change the ending, and so like I'm gonna try doing that as well. But anyway, so we kill our way through the warrens, I guess, under the well, do the slime. We get back to the lady. She gives us our first summon, which is just Raijin, which I already have, but it's level 1 instead of level 3, so it's worse. So it's like, okay, well that would have been nice to have like at the very beginning of the game if I just like realized there was this lady, which is interesting because at some point I was walking up because it's like right after you leave like the castle or the throne room. There's like 2 guards, and that's the lady who tells you about the house with the well. And I was like, at some point, I was just going back and forth. I'm like, is she new? Like, I don't remember seeing her before. Or like, I remember her not being there at some point. And if I just like not been like trying to speed through the game and I just wandered over and talked to her, then I could have done this a lot sooner, which would have been nice because it's nice. It's like an extra super attack that you just get, which I have not used this entire game. Anyway, next up, we find one of the shop ladies hanging out in the pub, getting smashed, talking about how there's a new item shop that's opened up. What the fuck? There's a new item shop that's opened up in this area. Sorry, there was like, I almost crashed because there's like just garbage on the freeway and these cars like slammed to stop from hitting it. So anyway, sorry about that. Jesus Christ. Okay, so there's this the item, yeah. So the shop lady's getting smashed. There's a new item shop that showed up over in like the fairy forest, and so when we head out, like right next to the fairy forest is like this shop, and so we get in there, we have to kill a bunch of monsters, and at the end, like no shit, there's a shop, and it sells like some old bullshit, like it sells like hand signatures or whatever, so you can, when you're playing multiplayer, because you can't talk if you're playing like online multiplayer, so you can like use these hand signals to like indicate certain things, I guess. And then it has some accessories that, again, if I had picked these up, like I already have better accessories, but if I'd come here right after I'd beaten like the fairy forest, they would have probably been pretty good. So that's fun. The next up is a bunch. Okay, so the next thing we have to go and fight the great pirate Roberts all over again. So we go fight him, and once we beat him again, he's like, oh man, I feel like this is deja vu. And then he's like, oh, are you here for adventure? Do you love adventure? What about that derelict ship that's over there full of ghosts and shit? Maybe you should check that out. And then I kill the Kraken just because I'm there. But then we go and head into the derelict ship, and it's just like a dungeon essentially. It's slightly different, but it looks pretty identical to Robert's ship. Kill a bunch of ghosts, and there's not much. That's it. That's all that's going on there. So then at this point, this is where we have to like do extra quests. So after we get through like the cave, we can access this other area. What do I have what it's called? It's something forest. Anyway, so there's a girl in town who's got like a red and blue shoe, and she's like, I miss my red shoe. I wish I had it. Something. So if you go to the Goblin Fortress, inside there we can crack a crate open and find the red shoe. Then we bring the red shoe back to the girl. And then she gives us her blue shoe, and then we like leave the room and come back and talk to her again, and she's like, Grandpa left for like some forest, the mushroom forest, that's what it was, the mushroom forest a while ago, and he hasn't returned. I'm kind of worried about him. And then you head out and you can go to the mushroom forest, and there's a lot of mushrooms there. And near the end, and in the mushroom forest you can pick up flowers and mushrooms and stuff, and when you get to the very end, or near the end, you find the grandpa just like passed out. So something you can do in this game that I've never really done is you can throw items as well as use them by like holding down the button, not the button that lets you use items, but like another button. And so if we he's like, oh, I need a mushroom. And so you throw a mushroom at him. And I had to like look up a fucking YouTube video for this because I was like, all right, cool, throw a mushroom at him. So I was throwing mushrooms at him and throwing mushrooms and picking the mushrooms up and throwing them again. And I was like, the fuck, this isn't working. Am I doing something wrong? And so I looked up a YouTube video, and this guy was standing in this very particular spot, and it threw the mushroom right at him. So then I stood in the exact same spot, and then he took the mushroom. So if you're trying to do this, like, you might have to look this up because you have to be in like this very precise location for some reason to throw the mushroom at him. So he eats it, and then he's like, man, if only I had wings to get out of here. And so then you have to throw like angel wings at him, and he flies away, and you can go talk to him. And this is the guy I was talking about earlier that like apparently shows up at the end of the game. All right, cool. So then in that same room, we can like wander around and we find a secret passage that takes us down. We find another Beastman, and he's talking about the Beast King's mountain in his grave and all this stuff and how he's going to be the new Beast King or something like that. And we're like, cool, sounds good. So that unlocks the Beast Mountain. And the Beast Mountain has 2 parts. So you go and you kill your way through it. There's nothing really there. And once you leave, you can go back, and then there's like a snow variant. And so you kill your way through there. The other hidden dungeon I found that I didn't really go through because I got massacred immediately upon entering was after you beat all the Colosseum levels, you can talk to the Colosseum guy, and he's like, oh yeah, there's a temple somewhere else where you can like train further, and so that temple opens up, and as soon as I get in there, there's like these 3 cat boxers things, and I couldn't even like charge up. They like raced at me and massacred me like super fast. But this was before I gained a bunch of levels by redoing some of these older side chapters, so maybe I'll go back and hit that up before we finish with the Castle of Chaos. All right, so at this point, we head back to the graveyard because going all the way back to like what I was doing before, I found out that I have to like move quicker and not hold like the fast forward button so much. So we're able to get the mummies to move back the graveyard thingy, or the gravestone, so that Boken's soul pops out. We go kill them, then we take Boken's soul and go throw it at his face, and it's like, ta-da, you're alive, Boken. He's like, oh man, you're the best, thank you so much. And they're like, no problem, big guy. And so then he's like, I'm gonna head back, and we're like, sweet, sounds good. And it's like, all right, so I wrapped up all the like side bullshit to do over here, so it's time to hit that Chaos Castle real hard. So we do. So we're going through, and about halfway through, Giuseppe shows up, and he says something about having some difficulties with like the Chaos Knights or the monsters, and he's shocked we're there and he made it so easily. And then he's like, you're annoying, I'm tired of you, it's time to die, or some old bullshit. And then we 2-shot him. And then he has the audacity to tell me that the fight was close, and I was like, go fuck yourself, man. And then he like bemoans his fate. He talks about the world of darkness was supposed to be his, and then he's like, what am I to do? And I'm like, adios, asshole. And then he disappears and dies. So then we kill our way all the way to the end of the castle, and then we run into Death Route, something like that. Anyway, and now instead of just being like a fun centaur homie like all the other shining creatures, he's like a giant monster centaur creature, which is fine with me because these giant creatures are super easy to hit and easy to like dodge around their stupid ass attacks. So that's great. So he's surprised that we're there, and then he recognizes us, and he's like, you don't recognize me, do you? I'm the guy from the tournament. And we're like, oh shit. And he's like, how's the king doing? We're like, he's good. He's worried about you, big guy. And he's like, I got nothing against the king. I'm just tired of peace and I wanted war. And Giuseppe came along and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Like, literally, that's what he says. The Chaos. And he's like, the Chaos Knights are under my control. And I'm like, okay. I think I've run into like one of them that identified themselves as Chaos Knights. Maybe that bird chick was a Chaos Knight as well. Anyway, he has no desire to return to the old ways. And no one can stop him. And he goes down like a bitch. And then he's like, oh, it's just a scratch. I'll be fine. He can keep fighting me forever. And we're like, I don't want to fight you anymore. And he's like, what? No, you have to fight me. Otherwise, I'm going to decompress and disappear. And we're like, adios, amigos. And he's like, no, come back, please. I'll teach you how to fight. And he's like, you're pathetic. Or no, in my head, I'm like, you're pathetic. This fucking dude. And he's like, there's one more thing. I regret. Regret is a powerful thing. The king, tell him something. I hope he's okay. And then he feels sad that he betrayed everyone and they acted dishonorably. Finally fucking admits it. And he asks us to take care of the king and Castle Clantel and all that stuff. So we head back. The king and queen and princess are all super happy that I'm okay. The crystal's back to normal too. We have some concerns, and they ask like, oh, what's wrong? And we're like, oh, Death Route, we kicked his ass and he's dead. And they're like, oh no, I'm so sad. And we talk about that for a while, but then like the queen gets over it pretty quick because she wants to keep celebrating and she wants to get us some quote unquote cookies, or like winky face cookies. And he's like, all right, you head to the tavern. We'll be there in a minute. I got some stuff to take care of first. And we're like, okay, cool. Then we just like teleport over to the tavern, and then we chat with everybody there. There's like Boken and some other guys. Nothing crazy. They're just like, oh, you did a great job. Something. And we're like, all right, cool. Now what? And so then I wander back over to the throne room because there's really nowhere else to go. I guess if you want to go grind out levels and do other stuff, you can. And as soon as we walk in, it's all like the orb is sitting in the middle of the room. It's purple. No one else is around, and the whole room's like black and white. And it's like, Nani deska? And so we head back to the tavern, and then we talk to the barkeep there, and we tell him about what happened. He's like, oh, it's chaos. Chaos is much worse than light or darkness. See, what happens is when you get too much light, and then darkness like revolts, and then there's like an imbalance, and chaos comes to form, and then you got to defeat that, and it's way more tough and way more impressive. And probably the whole royal retinue, like the wizard and the princess and the king and queen, they got swallowed by chaos. Oh no. And we're like, what are we supposed to do? And he's like, follow me. And we're like, okay. So we follow him. We take this really long fucking passageway all the way down into the cellar, and then there's this giant fucking crazy portal there, and we're like, Nani desu ka? And he's like, when I first arrived here, I sealed this room. And I'm like, yeah, why'd you do that? And he's like, Giuseppe told us to do that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess the guy wasn't all bad. Anyway, it's directly below the castle, and it's somehow tied to the crystal, which is part of the castle in that area and whatnot. And we're like, sounds good. And he's like, and there's chaos. You have to fight it. Do a great job. We're like, okay, cool. So we head in there, and then Angela, who I've never brought up before because I never thought she was relevant, but I guess she's the healer who brings us back to life. But since I never die, I've like never spoken to this woman, but I guess she runs in there too. And as she's running in, the tavern guy's like, "No, Angela, wait!" And I was like, "Who the fuck is that?" Once inside, we find this like crazy abomination, and then we get like the king and queen are calling out to us, and the princess, and then we have like one of the hardest fights of the game. Like no joke. Like I had to like really save scum to beat the shit out of this. And then once we do, finally, the king and queen congratulate us. Everyone tells us we did a bang-up job, and then they pray for chaos to leave. And then they all head towards like the quote-unquote calming light. Then everything fades, and then we hear a voice. It's like says, "A new legend has been born. When light and dark are in imbalance, and they summon chaos. Conflict feeds chaos." And then it's like, isn't the Starry Night magnificent? And then this person is like, "I have carried you here many a times," and I'm like, "Never happened. This is the first time you've ever done this." You were hurt many times, and again, I'm like, liar. But each time you became stronger, and that I've always watched over you because I'm your guardian angel. It's me, Angela, and I'm like, oh, you're Angela. Okay, sure. I guess that's important if I ever died. Makes sense. So now everyone's safe, and they're all waiting for us. So it's time to go back. So we head back to the throne room, or we get teleported back over there. And then the king really wants to take a photo of everybody to make sure we're all good. And then so everyone will know that that we were here, that we saved the world. And then what am I saying? The days he knows there's one where then we talked to everybody, and the queen's like, "Oh, you two should hang out more, and you guys should be best friends." Wink, wink, wink. And I was like, "I thought you wanted to bang me." I said, "You just wanted me to bang. You wanted to lure me in with these cookies and have me bang your daughter." And cookies is euphemism for cookies. I misread that whole situation. And then it's like a really long conversation about all this stuff. Camille's like, "Yeah, we should be friends," and I'm like, "Cool, that's dope. You're way hotter than your mom." Anyway, so we talk more about like the balance, it being necessary. We need to have light and darkness. There's no plans to do that. We're just like light powered, and there was some darkness that showed up, and we kicked the shit out of it, and then beat chaos. And I'm like, I guess light won. Like I don't understand why we have to have a balance. Like we literally went in there and kicked chaos's ass, and like chaos can eat a dick as far as I'm concerned. But whatever. So we're gonna lead the path to righteousness, which is the balance of light and dark. And then we should enjoy life as a child and dating Camilla and stuff. And everyone's like super excited. And then the queen's like, "Oh, my precious children." So I guess we're already married. And then at the end, we all stand around, and there's like, you can talk to all the homies and everybody that you rescued and whatnot about your adventures. And then we like go stand by Camille, and then it's time to take the picture as the game ends. The end. So yeah, that's Shining Soul 2. It was pretty fucking good, not gonna lie. Like it was like Shining Soul 1 was a decent game, like a decent romp. I enjoyed it for the most part, and like no real complaints. But Shining Soul 2 was pretty good. Like I enjoyed myself. Like if I wouldn't mind getting like figuring out how to make this like multiplayer, and I would definitely play this game with like my kids, for example, or some other nerds if I could ever find nerds to play games with ever again who are like my age. Which good luck, good luck to me. But my boys and maybe my daughter, that's 4 of us. We could go play through this. Like I wouldn't mind that at all. Like it's like cute. It's got a fun little story. It's got like fun little adventure. It's pretty straightforward and simple. And like yeah, I had a blast. So definitely recommend on that Shining Soul 2 front for sure. So yeah, next up we got, my understanding is it's like pretty much action role-playing games from here on out, but these first two, like all I hear was like, oh, after Camelot left and the Shining series went to hell, it was awful and so boring, and I'm like, no man, these are pretty good. Like I know they're like prequels to Shining Force 1, which I would have played them before if I had realized that, but like the Shining Force website that I went to, that's like the super fan site, like wanted nothing to do with like talking about these in their chronological order or whatever, which granted, it's kind of like a loose chronological order, but whatever. Anyway, so the games like move into like the PlayStation 2 era like real hard for the next little bit. So it took me a minute, but I got that emulator running and going. And so next up in a couple weeks, we're going to go over Shining Tears, I think. So it'll be fun to see where that goes. I think there's some romance options in there that affect your ending, which is like baller as shit. Hopefully they continue the trail of like freaking waifus in these games, which have been pretty good. There's always like 1 or 2 at least. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Bye.